talking, you'll know. Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday morning. I didn't follow my own rule in muting the Twitch broadcast. My name is Abel Talamantez. I'm a chess director at the Mechanics Institute, and joining me is Grandmaster and three-time U.S. champion Nick Firmian. How's it going?
Hi, everybody.
And we are here for round 2 of the 2020 U.S. Cadet National Championship, which is online this year. Last night we had round 1. This is an 8-player invitational round robin. We had 3 decisive results of the 4 games. It was Christopher Yu, Arthur Gould, and Christopher Shen were the victors. And round 2 started at 9 a.m. this morning, so we're going to be following the games an hour into their game. The time control is game in 70 with 10-second increment. Round 3 will begin at 1 p.m. and then round 3 1 p.m. and then round 4 at 4 p.m. And then it'll be the same schedule tomorrow with 3 games, 9 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. So it is definitely a marathon, not a sprint for this tournament, because usually this tournament takes place over the course of several days. But with 3 games packed in one day, that's a little bit different from what players are used to. So we'll see how it all goes. So let's just jump into the action right away, because we got the games up. So let's start with Maximilian Liu and Justin Wang, FIDE Master Liu and Justin Wang. And here's the position that is out of a Rui Lopez.
They've progressed a lot so far. That's
Yeah, one of the things we noticed yesterday is that even with the slightly longer time control of the G70, a lot of these players are probably playing a lot of rapid or blitz, and so they've probably naturally progressed through games a little bit faster. Because, I mean, this game right here, they're already on move 28, and it's just been a little over an hour into the game.
Yeah, yesterday some of the players, they took a long time in the opening, and it went slowly, but
and then
this
it went
is more
crazy
like
at the end.
there was so much action at the end.
Yeah, if you didn't watch the broadcast yesterday, the final 10 minutes were just frantic endings, and just everything went crazy. It was the calm before the storm for like an hour 50, and then the last 10 minutes was just a crazy scramble. So if you look at the link that is in the Twitch chat, that you can get all the information there, the round times, the pairings, and the results also from yesterday. And like we said yesterday, Robert Shliaktenko and Justin Wang played to a draw, but Christopher Yu beat Andrew Hong, Christopher Shen beat Rui, and it was Arthur Gould beat Max Liu. So those were the results from yesterday, and then here we are. And we're sort of pushing for Rui, but let me flip to that game, because she's got her hands full. She's playing Christopher Yu.
Oh my God, my kids are playing against each other.
Yeah.
We have Rui fans among us here. And we have the 3 Bay Area representatives with Christopher, Yu, Rui, and Andrew Hong. So, and then we have a SoCal with Robert Shliaktenko. So half the field's from California. So what do you think of this game with, it looks like Christopher's up a pawn?
He's up a pawn, but that on b6 doesn't matter so much. And the knight on d7 is attacked, knight on d2 attack. This move is probably critical because you get an initiative, be able to d4 or something. It could be good for her. Maybe just on a to d1 that guards the knight on d2. Knight on d7's attack, pawn to g4 coming. Generally, it should be okay for Christopher. Hard to believe he's worse.
Let's flip over to Andrew Hong, who's playing white now against Arthur Gould, 2 international masters facing off. And this is the U.S. Cadet Championship. Every participant is under 16 years of age.
Okay, so white's a pawn up for the moment. Take on 4, but lose the one on e6. So this looks like the advantage for white. Oh, d4 is also hanging. Maybe takes on d4. Queen takes e6. Rook f7. But seems white's ahead here.
Just has that unsavory looking king side, but probably no real threats.
Fortunately, white has that bishop on g2 to his king save. And the bishop on b7's not active yet.
No. All right, let's go to the other game that we haven't seen for this round. This is Robert Sliatenko against Christopher Shen.
And Robert Sliatenko, who is supposed to win the tournament according to Walter Brown.
Yeah, in the chat yesterday, we had a user, Walter Brown, predicting he said he put his money on Robert Sliatenko to take it down. So, and what do you think? How's he looking here as white?
Well, I kind of like the black position. I mean, I favor Benoni's, but you've got the protected pass pawn on b4. You've got pawn on h5. You can hit the knight when it's useful. Black could just get that knight on c7 into the game. Then it would be really good. But,
wow, look at that. h4.
Yeah, I hope not. That could be premature. Knight goes to h1, back to f2 is a pretty reasonable square. Okay. It looks loose for white, but it seems hard for black to find a target to really break through.
So you're a 3-time U.S. champion, and you've surely played a lot of these types of tournaments where they're round robin. And what's the psychology of this? So, like, say you're one of the players that won your first round. Are you sort of managing your tournament in terms of what you're looking to get out of rounds 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, or are you just taking it game by game?
You're right. When you win the first round, that helps you. Suddenly, you're in a good situation. You can relax. You don't feel forced to win the next round. You just play the position as it is. If you lose the first round, you get a little nervous, saying, "Well, I have to get back in the tournament. It's not that long," and sometimes you pressure on this. And
for those of you tuning in, we started an hour into the games for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we're going to be streaming all the rounds all day, and it is kind of tiring, so we want to pace ourselves. But also, myself and Judit, who's behind the scenes monitoring the event. Let's give a special shout out to Chief Tournament Director, National TD John McCumiskey, and Dr. Judit Sztaray. They're doing a ton of work behind the scenes in starting up the games, because these games for this event are manually paired by Judit on chess.com. And then we have both John McCumiskey and Judit also monitoring the fair play cameras and what have you. So a lot of stuff's going on behind the scene. They work very hard, and we appreciate what they do. But both Judit and I, we're among the 7 delegates for Northern California to the U.S. Chess Federation. We had a special vote today, so we had to go take care of that. It probably wouldn't seem very democratic if I jumped on a stream and then did not listen to what we were voting on and just voted. So took care of that, and now we're back on. So these games, we figure they'll end around 11:30, 11:45. There is a lunch break, and then we will be back on around 1:30. And Grandmaster Patrick Wolf will join for the afternoon, and then later for the evening rounds, FIDE Master Paul Whitehead will join. So we have a lot of people covering all the bases of rounds 2, 3, and 4 of the U.S. Cadet. Let's go back to this game with Max Liu and Justin Wang.
Yeah, I like the fact that White's got that pawn on e5, the queen and knight over there. Maybe you can get some tricks in. And here, maybe queen to g3 would be a good move. I'm afraid if White went pawn to d4, Black could hit it maybe with pawn to c3, attacking the bishop moves, even then pawn to g5. I know very loosely hitting the queen, but then the queen couldn't guard the d4 pawn. So Black would win an important central pawn. Again, White may sacrifice it by happening. This game is very interesting right here. We didn't have to wait until the time pressure.
Right. And who knows what's going to happen if there's time pressure on top of this, the tension built up already in this game. Speaking of pressure and tension, going back to Robert's game with Christopher Shen, Christopher's gone all the way. He's pushed to h3.
Yes, he probably had to, because the pawn doesn't do anything on h4 anymore, and then he breaks up the white king side a little bit. Maybe White just goes pawn to g3, and the pawn on h3 can help the attack, but it can also become a bit weak if the knight's able to attack it. Still, it looks about even here. Something like pawn to g3. I'm wondering if there's a tap. It would be pawn to g3, Black plays knight takes e4, attacking the queen. Pawn takes knight on e4, queen takes pawn on e4, hitting threatening checkmate.
Mate on g2.
And attacking the knight on e2 can't move because of the bishop on d4. But maybe White could just defend with rook f2 and don't see the good follow-up.
And White's gone knight to g3.
Oh, well, Black's satisfied then. Then the h-pawn gets traded for the g-pawn, and the white king side's a little loose.
And then Black will look to go rook h8 and then king g8 at some point.
Now, that's an interesting plan. Rook on the h-file. You gotta like that. It's not very often that happens in a Benoni. That would be good.
And
pawn takes g2, queen takes g2, rook h8. Yeah.
There could be some action in the making in this game. And for those viewers, I apologize. I am eating breakfast simultaneously because I have some French toast in front of me that needs to be taken care of.
You had a very busy morning.
I mean, between the delegate meeting and trying to do breakfast, it's also my son's birthday today. So,
How old is he?
He turns 21 today.
Wow.
21. So
Hey.
we're trying to take him to dinner. That's why the evening broadcast, Judit will be streaming with Paul and covering the games. And we'll see what happens tonight, since it is his 21st birthday. And let's go back to Rui and Christopher.
And she just moved knight f3. Good, solid move. Yes. Okay, and then how do you defend that knight on d7? Because Christopher prayed. Oh, I don't know about that move. Rook takes. Now you better not go rook to d8, because queen takes d7 and there's the back rank mate.
Yeah, nice little tactic there.
So maybe Christopher has okay.
Queen c7 he's played.
Yeah, good solid play. I'm wondering if Rui should go pawn to g4, get the action started on the king side.
Oh yeah, that'd be something there.
I should probably retreat to e7 and the follow-up.
G4, knight e7. What is
Yes.
How does she utilize her bishop in this? Like, what's kind of the best? Like, would something like bishop e1, bishop b4 at some point? Would that be, or do you need to keep the bishop there to protect the d4?
That's probably a very good idea. I like how you're thinking. Get the passive piece into play. Bishop got to b4. It's doing a lot more than on f2, where it's just a defender.
Yeah, I'm thinking, since she's down a pawn, but the position looks fine. You want to start utilizing as much compensation.
Bishop b1's a fine move. It's we'll probably play h5 if given the chance, because you have Luft on the back rank mates and you solidify the knight's position on f5. So don't know if this is the time to take the opportunity for g4, knight e7, and maybe bishop e3 to try for rook c1 or be prepared for knight g6. If bishop to e1, pawn to h5, bishop to b4 hits the rook, rook goes to maybe the c file, then what do we do with white? Hard to find an active plan.
And
her.
Yeah, go ahead. What do you think?
I think I would try g4 anyway. The tactics may start. Maybe Christopher leaves the knight on f5 and goes queen to c3, hitting the rook on a1, knight on f3. Both black knights are hanging, so it becomes very messy.
Yeah. So if that was played, then if g4, queen c3, probably go rook e1?
Something like rook e1, and then maybe queen takes knight on f3, pawn takes knight on f5, and the d7 knight's still hanging. That's a quite possible line. But that's committing. You're really starting the tactic.
Check out the developments here with Max Liu and Justin Wang. Justin has played c3 in this game.
c3, and now that pawn on e5 is loose. So I'm wondering what Max's idea was. Oh, excuse me. It's not loose because there's the rook on d8 is attacked by the
Queen.
white queen. So
Yeah.
bishop c1, you cannot take the pawn on e5, rook e5, bishop e5, queen d8. So ace. White must be better.
Better and has a pawn. So,
Yes.
So Justin is going to try to work his way out of this one. Justin Wang and Christopher Yu are the top seeds in this tournament. Bishop c1.
I am the king side. And Black has a couple of possibilities. Black could just push that b pawn up, b4, b3, get a passed pawn on that side of the board. And I keep looking at the really risky pawn to g5 to push the white queen around, but you have to be prepared for the sacrifices then. That, yeah, pawn to g5, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes g5, kind of hitting the rook, threatening bishop f6. That's good for white.
And I'm just eyeballing Rui's game here. She is still thinking on this move, and you were suggesting as a possibility g4, which looks kind of aggressive. So Rui played last night. She looked like she had a very defensive position, and then stayed with it, defended well, and then all of a sudden had attacking opportunity, and then came up just short, and she might have had something had she had more time. She's a pretty aggressive attacking player. Does a loss like that over the course of a round-robin tournament, does that have the tendency to make you second-guess your aggression, or do you think players by their style will not be able to help themselves, and if she has another opportunity to be aggressive, she'll just take it?
Yeah, she's young. I think she just stays with her style. She's learning every game. She's played in the Tuesday night marathons and had some setbacks there. It was a shame. She defended really well and got such a promising position.
Yeah, that was really
for
good.
the wrong time.
I have a feeling you may be seeing that as a newsletter annotation request.
Oh, yeah, I have to.
Let's check in on the game of Robert Shliatenko and Christopher Shen.
Oh, now look at that. You put the rook on the G file. Abel, why don't people listen to you?
Why the G file? Because I mean, it's like the king's like locked in, but maybe there's nothing wrong with that at the moment. But
maybe the plan is knight to h5. So if white plays knight takes h5, you can G take.
Oh yeah. G takes, and now you've opened the G.
But I still find this a very strange move.
But white doesn't.
Wonder if no, doesn't have to take it.
Right.
Maybe white can play rook on b to e1 and look to advance with pawn to f4 and king side. Yes, if each side gets their pieces who aren't doing anything in play, then we'll have a good game. I don't know how Black's going to get that knight on c7 into play.
And just flipping over to Andrew and Arthur, it seems like the game is progressing a little mellow right now.
Okay, he didn't take on f4, g4 and allow those checks, going defensive. But I think white just has to be better. Something like rook on a to d1. First of all, guarding the pawn. You're also ready for that central breakthrough pawn to d5 when the knight on c3, the bishop on g2, the rook on b1, they would all get into play with the exchanges in the center. So I definitely like white in this game.
And it appears that a move was played and Rui has gone queen to b2.
Okay, looking to get in rook to c1.
Yeah.
But Christopher can just go rook to c8, so find that a little odd. Maybe then she can play pawn to g4.
Kind of keep the pieces a little bit restricted there, but...
Yes, I like your bishop to e1, and then maybe bishop d2 could have threatened rook to c1.
I mean, I wonder, too, if by going queen b2, she puts another protector on the d4, so then she can play bishop e1 and then do something with the knight, and, that pawn's still guarded. I don't know. We'll see how this develops. Let me switch it back to Max Liu and Justin Wang here.
Yeah, this game is going to be fun. I just know something good is going to happen.
It's going to be fun for someone.
I'm worried about fun for us and our viewers.
No, we'll have fun. It's kind of like a sad thing that for a Twitch broadcast involving chess, someone's misery can be the viewer's delight. But there's a lot of drama in chess, especially following it online, like we saw yesterday. I mean, the ending of the Christopher Yu and Andrew Han game was pretty dramatic, and even Rui's game was pretty dramatic because you just didn't know which way it was going to go. And for those of us that have played online chess, we know we're having a heart attack when there's like less than 10 seconds on the clock, and the stakes are high, especially for an event like this. I mean, a $6,000 scholarship to whoever wins first place, as well as a $1,200 prize pool on top of that. A lot on the line for these players.
Yeah, this is quite a tournament. That's.
And we want to give a special shout out to Dwayne Barber, who put up money to help sponsor the scholarship and the prize pool, as well as the U.S. Chess Federation. They've kind of worked together to put up the prize fund for this. So we want to say thank you to the Dean of Scholastic Chess, Dwayne Barber, and to Carol Meyer, Mike Hoffpower from the U.S. Chess Federation and the executive board for helping make this happen.
Abel, with the postponement of the U.S. Championship and Women's Championship, is this the first championship event we've had since the coronavirus started?
No, I mean, there have been some Scholastic Championship events. Judit was one of the tournament directors for a national Scholastic event. I think they had a high school seniors Scholastic Championship. But in terms of like the traditional national championship events, I want to say this is the first. If Judith's listening on the chat, maybe she could chime in on that. I think this is the first of the traditional national events that has gone online. And then next month we'll have the U.S. Closed online, the U.S. Women's, the U.S. Junior, and the U.S. Senior, of which Grandmaster Patrick Wolf will be participating. Nick, I have to ask you, because it came up in a conversation, were you asked to participate in that event?
No.
Okay.
But it's good. We always have some mechanics representatives, so Patrick will be great. We've had Elliot Winslow. We've had
right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And Judith mentioned that in the chat. The national invitationals. Elliot represented Northern California in the senior championship. Second year in a row, I think, because I know he did it last year as well. He did so by winning the Northern California Senior Championship, which we hosted at McCumiskey Institute. And he got that win over Enrico Sevillano, who was also playing in that tournament. So that was a tough one.
You have to be the grandmaster to win the tournament. You know you've done well.
That's right. And we know Elliot can do it. He's played some phenomenal games lately. Let's check in on Robert and Christopher Shen here.
King H1, just ready in case that G file opens up.
It's kind of interesting how the kings are dancing around here.
Well, if he plays Rook H8 now, then but probably that just loses a tempo because the white king's definitely better on H1 than G2. And to find an active plan for black, well, I might go slowly. Often in the Benoni, there's these tactics that can happen all the time, but you look at repositioning your piece, something like bishop to C8, trying to get into the move, knight to A6, or you could go rook to A. Just you would get that other black knight in to help out. Would have the advantage of the battle. And white's possibilities, I guess white could also play rook F2 and rook to G1, pile those rooks up on the king side. The pawn to F4 is a very loose plan.
And it looks like Christopher, you followed your advice, going back to this game, has played rook to C8 in this position.
Aha. And H3, H5.
Is it becoming more difficult to see advantage or compensation for white?
The longer it goes on, the more value that pawn has. And if things get traded down, that just becomes an extra pawn.
Now, can white consider G4? Or is that,
yes.
Is that too crazy?
Try G4. The difference now is H takes G4, H takes G4. The knight goes to H6. And how do you defend that G pawn? Because you don't want to push it to G5 and give that knight back to at F5 secure.
Right.
Yeah, this Rui's queen to B2 to me was a bit slow, and Christopher's beginning to take over the edge.
It's almost like she lost like momentum and initiative, because if she had played G4, then Black's knight would have to react to her move. And now, after she played Queen B2, Black's playing moves where now she's sort of having to react to him. So, all right, let's check out Andrew Hong and Arthur here.
Oh, E5 immediately. That's I don't know why you wouldn't have put the rook on D1 first. Okay, if E takes D5, C takes D5, Black plays C takes D5, and then you can put the rook on D1. Maybe it'll transpose. Okay, then still Black can't hold on to the D5 pawn. So White's going to be better in that open position.
What about that pawn on F4?
Yeah, you can take that one. But for instance, E takes D5, C takes D5, Black plays C takes D5, rook to D1. You take the pawn on F4, then knight takes D5. Oh, that hits everything. knight will be hitting the rook on f4, the bishop on e7. Black couldn't go bishop takes 5 because it loses at least the exchange. Takes d5 check. So a lot of danger for black in the opening up of the bishop.
And Andrew Hong looking to get a point on the board after losing in a time scramble yesterday to Christopher Yu. Let's check out. Look at this game with Robert and Christopher Shen. Now Robert's played Rook G1.
Okay. Yes, still we're wondering about that rook on g8. I guess it always is the plan, knight to h5. But yeah, that's maybe white could just take knight on h5 then, having prepared for it.
Is this getting a little scary for black, or do you think it's both sides have opportunity?
Well, black can at least say, all right, maybe the tactics aren't working for me, but I don't have to initiate them. You're not doing anything to me.
Hey, Nick, I'll be right back. I'll leave it on this game. I'll be right back.
All right, well, here's a Benoni, and one of the unfortunate things is Christopher Chen is down on time with only 18 minutes left. That's and you can tell he's thinking. He's really trying to do something, and that often will take a lot of your clock to figure out the plans, the upcoming tactics. So if I were him, I would slow down, say, okay, I'm not looking for immediate tactics. I'm looking to reposition my pieces, keep everything solid for a while. You know, if white wants to start pushing things, trying to get pawn to f4, hey, I'll have to react. But the moment, I'm not going to be the one initiating.
I mean, to me, isn't queen g5 a strong move for white if given the opportunity to play it? Or am I missing something?
It threatens queen to h4.
Actually, if you go queen, oh no, I guess you can't do that. Or maybe, oh no, you can't. Maybe he played rook g1. Let me know if I'm crazy. Because if queen g5, black can play knight takes e4. Right? Because with the knight on e4, it's threatening knight f2 mate.
Well, the black queen is hanging on f7. Bishop on d4 would stop knight takes f2 mate.
Ah, that's right. See, there you go. That's why I need you, Nick. See the bishop on d4.
It would be a very interesting queen sacrifice.
I'm always trying to find some action in the game, even if it's not there. I'm trying to see if I can see it.
But black could be less greedy. After queen g5, he could do knight f takes b5, and that snags a pawn, stops the queen h4 check.
And then knight d7's on the board now.
All right, it's academic. Christopher stopped queen g5. So. It's
actually, that's an interesting move because there's a lot of stuff going on between the possible trading of bishop plus the knight being able to get itself to e5. How's this look to you?
Normally, you don't like to trade off your Benoni bishop, but here it makes a lot of sense because black will have more control of the dark squares.
The Benoni bishop. Like that.
Yeah, that was a nice move, a nice positional move by Christopher. And now Robert has to decide whether he wants to trade those dark squared bishops or not, because retreat back to e3, he's given away a bit of ground. Knight e5 can come anyway.
You almost get a sense of the more the pieces come off the board. I mean, to me, the black's pawns on a5 and b4 look pretty strong if it gets to an endgame where the minor pieces come off.
And white's got those somewhat weakened kingside pawns. Pawn's missing, so the h pawn's a little loose. Now, how will he take back here?
Took with the rook.
King g7. It's high time for white to get that knight in b2 into the game.
Yeah.
So, knight to d3 for e5 and maybe. Oh,
There you go.
wow. Okay, it's taking territory, saying it's time to make the advance.
Time to make it happen, huh?
Well, very interesting. White can sort of go pawn to f5, but that would give you the e5 square. Pawn to e5 is coming up impossible. Black going to get counterplayed. Rook h8. Okay, you've got both rooks over there.
Yeah.
Not sure it does so much. Rook h8 with the idea of king to g8 and double on the h line.
It's interesting how the kings are going to be shuffling around to provide space for the rook.
Yes.
Let me check on this game here. Justin Wang has just played f4 against Max Liu.
Oh, the promised action has started.
Yeah. Look at all of Black's pawns. They're just like chained up and advancing.
So White's given up a piece. Okay. Gets this knight on f4. Got 3 pawns for the piece.
Three
got
pawns.
2 center pawns.
And Black has the 2 bishops.
Yes, I don't like this for White. Oh, the b4 pawn is also hanging. So in that case, that would be 4 pawns if you can get that one.
Well, who do you like here? Who do you think is better?
It was definitely better before. After the piece sacrifice, the question is, can Black get those pieces really working?
Right.
Because then you could get an attack. Maybe a move like queen to g6 here. Loses the b4 pawn.
Actually, getting the bishop to d5 could be a pretty strong spot for it.
That would be great, except knight b4. It's
Oh yeah, right.
If Black can be able to coordinate pieces, Black will be doing very well. But right now, there's that problem of b4. Bishop on f7 hanging. Could play bishop to h5 to hit the rook, trying to gain a tempo. Knight takes b4. Well, that would lose something. The queen could attack the knight while the bishop's attacking the rook. Really a complicated game.
Moving on, back to this game, Andrew Hong and Arthur Gould.
Yes. So this just looks nice for White. And if I were Black, I'd say, okay, I have to be defensive here. I might not take the pawn on d5 and do something like bishop to b4. ready to drop that knight off on c3 and then take the pawn on d. So this allows white to just take the pawn on e6. White's just a pawn ahead then. Pawn takes e6, bishop takes g2, king takes 2. Someone takes on f4, maybe the rook takes on f4. The white king's a little loose, but only a little. And you've got that pawn on e6.
Let me do a check here on Robert's game, and Christopher Shen has played queen a4, h4, sorry.
All right, getting ready for like knight to f6, knight to g4, and that also prevents pawn to e5, because then black's take on the on e5 without the pawn d6 being a four. Still, I like white. Knight to d3, and then get that rook on b1 into play. That bishop on h3 is kind of blocking the h file.
Right. And what's it really doing there? I mean, maybe prevents white from putting something on f1, but white has just put the bishop on f1. So there you go.
Yes, I'm not sure about that move. Well, I suppose you would. Are you happy to trade? Maybe your bishop wasn't doing so much on c4. Black could also go bishop g4.
Would you go then f5, or you don't want to weaken the e5 square?
I mean, black to play f5 now.
No, if black plays bishop g4, would white push f5?
Ah, okay.
Oh no, you got the threat of bishop f3. Check.
It's a little complicated. The bishop f3 can be met by bishop g2.
Yeah.
But f5 would give black that e5 square for the knight.
That's just too strong.
I wouldn't rush that with white.
Especially with access to g4 and f3 for the knight if it gets there.
Yeah, I'd probably play bishop g4. I'm still thinking black needs to get that rook on b8, knight on c7 into the game.
And for a lot of these games, we're approaching, I mean, some of the players are almost at 10 minutes left. It seemed like 10 minutes remaining was the witching hour yesterday where games really, really picked up. So we'll see what happens. Let's go back to Max Liu and Justin Wang here.
Oh yes, this really fun game. As we said, it was bishop to h5. Didn't take the pawn on b4, but rook b1, so that pawn is a goner. And can black get an attack? Now, queen on c6, rook on g8 are threatening checkmate. And how do you defend that? Pawn to f3. So you seem to have to play pawn to g3, which is played. And those white squares are kind of loose there. Can
you go bishop f3?
Yes, or maybe rook on d to f8, taking more squares.
Or
that would allow an endgame with king to e4. If I were white, I'm afraid of the black attack.
Let's do a check-in on Rui's game. it seems like she's kind of playing more defensively. Well, what do you think?
You know, this reminds me of her game yesterday. We didn't like her position very much, but then she played all these kind of slower, solid moves, not giving away anything, and then slowly got back in the game, kept her possibilities. Here, I like this move, King to H2. That helps for the G4 later, because King could even help out with the pawn advance to guard the G4 pawn.
Is this just kind of like in her style to kind of seek balance and then mix it up when the time's right? Yes.
Sometimes she's not like some of the other players that just throw things at you. So this is her style, and it's a good style. But okay, Christopher's got the other knight coming in. I like how he's used all his pieces, and then, okay, what are you going to do? Yes, he's kind of just a pawn up in this position. I wonder if she needs to go pawn to G4 here.
Yeah, so like what would Rui do? Because she doesn't have a move that actively will attack something. So she'd be looking to improve position, probably, right? Like, what's the way to go about doing that? Right now she has to think about defending F4, right?
Yes, and queen to E2 would defend F4, but then queen to C3, trying to trade into an endgame, putting more pressure on F4. That's definitely better for black. On to G4 is a tactic, like if H takes G4, H takes G4, knight H6. Now both the F4 and G4 pawns are attacked by the knights, but queen to G3 would defend both of them. So that may be a good defensive move by playing something aggressive.
A good defense is a good offense, right? Well, let's see what she does. We got action like everywhere starting to... There it is. She has played G4. And now things are going to open up.
Yes. Yeah, okay, I like that move.
She will have to watch her time because she's at 12 minutes remaining. So while we keep an eye on that, let's go over and check out Robert and Christopher Shen. And Robert's played Queen D4 here. And now Bishop D7 by Black is on the board.
Okay. I wonder if you attack that knight on C7 with rook E1, the knight does have a square to go to E8. It's such a bad square because it's like the F6, B4. Yes, black is also threatening that A pawn, but I wouldn't worry too much about that if I were white. Odd how the game was so focused on the king side, and now they're looking at the queen side.
And Robert's got 25 minutes to Christopher's 9, so we'll see if that becomes a factor. Going back to this game, Andrew Hong and Arthur Gould, 2 IMs battling it out.
Okay, Andrew didn't take the pawn on E6, which I thought was good for him, but rook to D1 should be good also. He's got possibilities of knight to E4. So maybe black should now take on F4. If you take with the knight, queen takes e6, king e7, knight d4. Yes, good for white, but don't see a knockout punt.
So let's go over to this game. Oh, sorry. We were talking earlier. This game, a piece for 3 pawns, and so Black has a lot of open space here. He's trying to make the best use of it with the rooks and the bishops.
Yeah, this game is great. 4 pawns, and the 2 center pawns are what gives white
It's 4 pawns.
chances. 2 rooks, 2 bishops, and the queen. Oh, this could get really dangerous. Maybe Black has to go something like queen e6, just get it out of take. And white. Wow.
Yeah.
White just has to be so careful.
Yeah, it's like looks like Justin is now putting all that space to good use.
Queen e6, if you would go pawn to d5, attacking the black queen. Queen to h3, be about the end, because you have that white squared bishop. Goes queen to g6.
And what's the strategy for white? Does white want to try to advance those center pawns to try to keep the pieces paying attention to those? Because I don't see an attack yet that's...
If I were white, I would really try to get the queens off, because I don't want to get mated. So I would try queen e4.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Justin, I didn't like queen g6 as much because of that, but Justin would have rook to f5. Hey, rook f5 stops the trade of queens, and there is a bishop to f3.
So if the queens came off the board, you like the pawns. And queen e4 was played.
Yeah, and it's hard to checkmate without the queen. So.
It's harder, that's for sure.
So rook to f5. Yes, then bishop e3 becomes a threat. Bishop to f3 becomes a threat. Rook f5. White should stop that bishop to f3 with rook to e3. Meanwhile, might try to get another pawn. And then black has to do something pretty quickly. If you give white time, pawn to f4, or rook takes c3, or knight to d5.
Yeah, this is possibly looking pretty good for Max right here. And in this other game, Rui has put Christopher in the think tank because he's been thinking about, I mean, the time is almost equalized in what they have left on the clock.
Yes, Christopher was looking good with the clock, but he may have not anticipated pawn to g4, and he's losing his initiative. Knight h6, king to g3, and those aggressive knights just aren't doing anything.
And
I like Rui's style, that she's careful.
And she's careful, but she is not afraid to start launching. And it's funny because it appears that that's where it's going, like you did yesterday. And with that, oh, there we go, knight h6.
bet she plays this quickly.
Is it? What do you do here? King G3.
Yeah, I don't see another move to defend both
Yeah.
pawns.
King G3 is played. And you know what? I mean, look, interesting if if the bishop can play, bishop E1 or something, and then playing queen H2.
Queen H2.
Bishop E1 and then queen H2.
Yes, I'm not sure you're going to checkmate black on the H file. That knight on G6 guards the H8 square. Black king can also run away.
What's sort of the thing to look for here? Or maybe queen B1, looking to play F5?
I like that move. It also prepares maybe rook to B2 or something. Yeah, that's a good move. Not waiting, taking the battle on your own terms.
What about queen B1 now? Because now you'd be attacking the knight.
Queen B1 looks good. Maybe he has to play king to F7.
What if you did queen B1, king F7, and then G5?
Well, that knight gets F5.
F5, that's too good.
So Rui's going to have to continue to be careful. He's got possibilities there, but nothing right away.
Checking in on other games while we wait to see back here with Robert and Christopher Shen.
Bishop to D3. Now 7 minutes for Christopher Shen. Robert has 19 minutes. So I'm going to go on record with a prediction again that Christopher Shen is going to make a mistake in the time pressure. Complicated position is hard to keep together for both sides. I think the extra time will be a bit decisive. It was a shame about Robert's game yesterday that he could have had some pretty good winning chances if he just kept playing.
If you would have kept the pressure on, and we had you and Sam Shanklin on. He definitely felt the same way.
Sam has such confidence. Sam was saying, that it's over. I just get him.
He's not short on that confidence and what he sees.
But Robert didn't have enough confidence. That was the problem.
Yeah, maybe it's part of the experience. I mean, here you are in an 8-player round robin, and everyone's as strong as you, right? It's got to be tough. But I mean, and maybe that's the thing is like you have to feel that, yeah, everyone here is strong, but I'm the stronger one, and I believe in my moves, and just have that attitude, kind of that swagger going forward, because I mean, confidence in your moves is probably going to be what that half-point difference over the course of a tournament.
Especially with little time, you just have to go with your gut instinct, and if you hesitate, you just burn up block.
Wow! So here we are. The queens did come off the board, but as you said, now that the queens are off the board, I mean, it looks like white is just swarming.
Oh yeah, I just don't like this.
But what about Bishop F3?
Yes, and then the rook would come to e3. You could take the knight on c6, but lose your bishop.
Right, the piece still hanging. There's a piece still hanging.
Yeah, this.
Yeah. Actually, that doesn't do anything, right? Because if bishop f3, I mean, white will just play rook b6. Oh no, you can't do that because then it would be defending.
But this game has turned. I mean, this queen trade has been really good for the white side.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be tough to even use these bishops and rooks in a way that gives you a lot of advantage. Actually, even now, looking at the black's pawn on c3, it almost looks like it could get a little vulnerable.
Oh, yes. Rook e3 is a good defensive move for the king side, but also hitting the c3 pawn. I think this is objectively just lost.
And going back to this game, it looks like Rui played rook, queen b1, like we discussed.
Okay.
And then you said king f7. But
yes. There's another possibility of pawn to f5. That's kind of, attacking the light squares.
F5.
And what is white do? Knight to g5 attacks the e6 pawn, but the white king's a little vulnerable. Queen to c3 check. Pawn to f5, you don't really want to take it. Pawn to g5, knight f7, and draw your pawns on dark squares so you don't have much future on the king side.
And let me and in this game here, Justin Wang has offered a draw.
Well, he will be a happy man if Maximilian takes it. Okay, bishop d8. How about if you just go rook to e3, hitting that c3 pawn?
Now, I've had a discussion with Paul about this, but in a position where, I mean, objectively, white looks better, and Justin has offered the draw, isn't there a risk that conveys just a sense of weakness in your position, that you offered a draw in this position? And might it not boost Max to really find that win? Because clearly Justin wants to get out of this position, right?
Wants to survive. As a practical matter, I think that's a good draw offer because Max has just 7 minutes left.
Right.
And if he is nervous, if he is like Robert was yesterday, might sit there for a minute or two saying, oh, I've got, a sure half of point in hand. So there's no harm in offering the draw.
And he declined it and played rook e3.
And did it pretty quickly.
Wow, black quickly played rook f3.
So, okay, rook f3 is a good move. Well, that's 3 pawn.
And now the time, he is under 7 minutes.
Now, if White would play rook to b8, hitting the bishop on d8.
Yeah.
But we might, yes, then maybe bishop to g5. Somehow all 4 rooks get traded off. And that would be to Black's advantage, because if that bishop could snag the c2 pawn, maybe it wouldn't matter that White has so many pawns, Black has one fast one.
We have Martin Gale in the chat saying rook b7 check first.
b7 check, and he has to go probably king to h8. Rook b8 would be about the same. Oh, okay. Rook e1, more of a defensive move. And still play bishop g5.
Now here's the thing. I mean, Justin is playing these moves pretty quick. Is there a chance that Max starts falling into a little bit of time pressure?
Oh yes, I don't like his move rook to e1. This now you've kind of got to trade off that on f3 bishops are useful. I was a little bit passive.
Flipping over to go ahead.
Yeah, it's a tricky position.
Let me just do a check-in on Rui and Christopher Yu. This is the current position.
Queen to f7, and then pawn takes f6. Yeah, I really like the move pawn to f5. So if you take with the queen, that attacks f4, but Rui can defend it, and then the knight will have these great squares on g5 and maybe e5. And to take with the pawn, then those pawns, they're fluid. But also the b6 pawn is hanging. Christopher brought the queen over to the king side, but well, that's giving up his extra pawn.
Right, doesn't it just...
Queen takes, okay, now maybe bishop to e3. That gets interesting. Bishop to e3, and don't think...
and played bishop e3.
So rook c3 is interesting tactics. Trying to hoping for something like bishop e2 would allow queen to h4 check, since the knight on f3 pinned. But rook c3, rook to a8 check, and where is the black king going?
The games are afoot here.
Oh, it's little time and so much action right now.
Speaking of which, let's do a quick check-in on Robert Shliaktenko.
Both sides have doubled on the G line. Kind of curious.
Yeah, it just looks funny. That queen on a1, but it's got the big diagonal.
So white can capture on a5, but the f4 pawn is hanging. That would be a great pawn to get, because suddenly you'd feel safe on the king side. So if I were Robert, I'd forget about the queen side, focus on the king side.
Going back to this game here with Max Liu and Justin Wang. Wow.
Max may regret not taking that draw.
Yeah, and as soon as he declined it, the moves he made after that, Justin has been blitzing the responses, and now it looks kind of tough.
Yeah, oh my. Because that C2 pawn is going in that super counterplay. I bet Justin seems very practical. I bet he'll take that C2 pawn without thinking very long. That rook on h4 really isn't doing so much because the bishop d2 defends h6.
Right, and the rook, black's rook on f3 sort of locks that f pawn from advancing and providing some counterplay.
Oh, this game has been a turnaround. I think Max will probably not be happy tonight. I am sure he had a winning position.
Wow, are we about to lose an exchange here? Or?
Yes. H3, if you actually want to play that.
And he's under 3 minutes now. Oh, look at that move.
Okay, king g2, good move. Although if you double...
Yeah, rook g... Ooh, he's gone back. Preventing the check, maybe?
Yeah, if you had doubled, maybe there was a move, rook to f4, although I'm suspicious that would have worked. But this looks like it wins the exchange.
Let's do a check-in on this game here. Andrew Hong and Arthur Gould. A lot of action here as we near the end. I mean, the final 10, 15 minutes of these rounds, same as the first round, just a lot of tension, a lot of tense action.
Oh, now I think Andrew did not get what he could have out of this position. Black seems to have defended. Pawns are equal.
Yeah, the material's even.
And looks like you may have to go to an endgame, but Black's certainly not worse.
Yeah.
So,
doing a check-in here on the game between Rui and Christopher, and Rui did not take that pawn and instead put her queen on c1, and now Christopher's played e5.
wow, okay, action. This is great. This is just terrific. What a move.
What do we do here for Rui? F5 or?
Well, what happens on d takes e5? I'm wondering.
Well, knight takes, right? Knight takes...
e5, but the white knight can take on e5.
And then queen f... Oh, it can't go queen f2, yeah.
Wow, okay, he must have an idea. I guess I don't see it yet. D takes e5. But knight takes e5, knight takes e5. Oh. Did he just wonder?
And I'm looking at this game. I think something's just gone horribly wrong for Max Liu, because he lost that exchange. And is there anything that can be done in terms of regaining compensation with those two advanced pawns, or there's just too many pieces on the board?
Well, they are advanced. You have to get something pretty quickly. Black would love to do bishop e4 snatch one of those pawns away and then be over. Pawn to e6 will gain a tempo. Yes, I think white has to be active in the next few moves. And Justin, of course, he probably feels he has a winning position if he can just be careful.
And going back to Rui and Christopher here.
Aha, queen e6 was the idea. Okay, so threatening g4 and threatening pawn to d4, hitting the rook on a2 and the bishop on e3. Very creative. And how can she defend? She could go knight to h2, pawn to d4.
F5.
Okay, f5, and the sacrifice was 4. So.
All right, now all of a sudden this looks a little scary for Rui here, right?
Yeah, definitely scary. Probably she had to do f5.
Right.
The others, and she played rook to f2, just hold her ground. Because then there's actually no check for the and
if rook f2, knight takes.
yes, probably best knight takes e4, but you could even take that. Knight takes e5 and bishop f4.
Well, that's a move right there. Queen d1.
Queen d1 so that the d5 pawn is hanging with check.
Yeah.
Ah, Rui, that's pretty good. I'm wondering, can she go pawn to d4, sort of crossing thing, or white could take with the bishop, knight, or queen, but each of them have a problem.
Yeah, queen e4, there it is.
I would have rather gotten that rook over, having another defender there.
There.
Queen d1 seems suspect.
Now, is there anything there if you can somehow get that queen out of there? Because if she can take d5 with check. Yeah, I was looking at that. Martingale was in the chat. I was looking at rook a4. I was considering rook a4.
a4, queen takes e3, queen takes d5 check. And what do we do exactly? Could play king h7 because the knight on f3 is pinned. Wild game here. Minute and a half for Rui, so. But she just moved the bishop to g5. Then it would be knight takes e5, and white king is still exposed.
She's done it. She's played rook a4.
All right.
I mean, this is the only move that gives chance, right?
Black can also go rook takes f3 check, queen takes f3, queen takes a4.
And then queen takes d5 check. Right?
Queen takes d5, h7. Probably a little better for white, or sorry, for black, but a draw. Queen takes e3 is the interesting move. Queen takes d5, and
Wow, this is...
king h7.
I'm glad I'm not playing this game because I would just be absolute fear.
King h7, queen to e4. Looks like she'll hold the draw. Things like rook takes f3 check, queen takes f3, queen e5 check, will have eliminated all the.
I mean, she'll take that. That's for sure. If she can get the draw out of this.
Yes.
Let's do a check-in real quick on this game here with Max Liu and Justin Wang.
Two connected pass pawns, but they better do something quickly.
And then this other game with Andrew Hong and Arthur Gould looks even-ish, no?
Yes, I predict a draw here.
So let's keep it on Rui and Christopher.
Queen e4, okay. So yes, rook takes f3 is a bailout, ensuring Christopher doesn't lose. He tries to win the game. Ooh, he's got to be careful. Something like queen to c1, guarding against knight g5 check. But Rui has nicely centralized pieces, so that's things should work out okay for him.
Let's check on Robert Shliatenko.
Oh yes, this game. Somehow Black has won those 2 pawns. Let that f pawn go, and
it looks like the queen's sort of out of place over there. White's queen.
yes, far away from the action at a critical time. Now, what happens if you trade rooks? Rook takes 7, rook takes, queen take, and queen to
C7 or
queen c7 check. Maybe the black king can just run up, king to h6, queen h7 check, queen g5. Or maybe you should grab the pawn on b4 that stops queen to e1 check.
yeah, he took on b4 there.
And queen e7 check becomes.
It's funny with that queen. The queen on b4 prevents the queen e1 check.
Yes, critical.
Let me switch over to Rui and Christopher, and this is the current state of the nation right here.
One little pawn on b6 up for black, but that knight on f3 is a good piece. Knight g5 check might be
yeah, and then
extremely annoying.
Rook a7 or pushing the pawn.
Yes, suddenly we're beginning to like the white side here.
And all the games, all the players are under about 3 minutes or under. Justin Wang's got 9 minutes in his game, and Justin Wang has won the game. He has defeated Max Liu. This is the final position. He's up a rook for a couple of pawns. So congratulations to Justin Wang, who took advantage of a mistake. And he offered the draw. It was declined. And as soon as he declined it, it looks like Max may have not played the correct continuation going from there. So
Yeah, that unsettled him.
yeah. And I was in the middle of talking how, oh, maybe that draw offer could be perceived weakness and Max will go for the kill, but it ended up going the opposite. How about this for Rui? I mean, what if she ends up playing something like Rook A1 or Rook A2? looking to swing over.
That H file.
Yeah.
Maybe Christopher will have to bail out at some point.
And Rui's at 32 seconds left. Christopher's at 1 minute. It's a lot easier to talk about these games than to play them because I don't know what's going on in the hearts and minds of the players, but this is pretty intense with high stakes.
Yes, I confess, I hope Rui doesn't lose this after her game yesterday, just
like
screwing up in the time pressure. Yeah. And today, again, she's played really well, just some good defensive moves.
Wow.
Oh, now that move, she's offering a knight ending a pawn down. And pretty good drawing chances, but you can only lose it or draw it. I think she should have stayed in the middle game. Probably she makes it draw.
Well, I mean, Christopher did not trade the queens.
Wow. Okay,
Was that a bad idea for him, though?
He is not going to checkmate Rui. It's the queen, white queen and knight.
Is this the right way to go? Because should she try to keep the queen off the board, or I mean, she thinks she needs to get the queen off the board. Now she's ahead of Christopher on time.
He really wants to win.
All right, the queens are off.
Yes, I would not have played how they did. Maybe it's a matter of age or something, but give me a pawn up ending. I'm happy.
Well, there's definitely no risk now for Christopher. The question is, does this make it easier for Rui to play?
Yeah, it's okay. You have a pawn. You play the e6. Why not? I guess king to e4. Just coming in.
Check out the. Well, let's stay here. Well, let's move over to this game, Shliaktenko and Shen.
Queen ending a pawn up, and I think this ought to be a win for black.
Black, yeah. And then just doing a check-in quick on Andrew Hong and Arthur. Andrew Hong has offered a draw.
Well, the black king has gotten aggressive.
Yeah, that's almost as aggressive as you can get, getting to the 7th rank on the other side. But it was declined. Arthur played on.
Yes, Arthur's a little better. Still, it's hard to attack the white pawns.
Going back to our knight and pawn ending here. Interesting here because that knight prevents the advancement of the pawn and defends the e5 pawn. Is this technically a draw if played correctly?
No, it's complicated. It's those black pawns are on two different wings. It's the white king can disrupt the knight, but somehow if that black g pawn can get marching while the white king and knight are occupied on the other side.
I mean, it's going to be tough for black to penetrate, though, right?
Yes. Maybe knight to c7. Yes, just stop king from coming in. King d4, then pawn to g5 and work on that side of the board. Okay, nice move by Rui. We'll get ready to give a check. She does.
And she's actually built up a little bit of time in doing all of this. Looks a little fortressy. Robert Shliaktenko drew that game.
Wow.
They agreed to a draw right here.
That amazing. It's is it perpetual check? Queen to c8 check. Oh, he did. Yes, queen to c8 check.
Yeah, here.
And it king to e5, queen to.
Yeah.
But black screwed this up.
Yeah.
Could have been winning.
That's what happened. And then Arthur Guo and Andrew Hung also agreed to a draw. So this is the last game of the round right here with Christopher and Rui.
Okay, yes, it's the most interesting one. And we get to see those clocks run down. I'm glad they're playing instead of us.
Yeah, and think this, with a 10-second increment, there's enough time to try to be a little bit precise.
Yes, but here Christopher's down. All right, he was down to 8 seconds and gets his 10.
It seems like Rui's been playing this well, preventing any kind of advancement.
Yeah, Rui could have done e6 check. And if the king takes, knight
c7, yeah?
If you get down to one pawn, then you draw it.
Uh-oh.
Now, if pawn to e6 check, oh well.
So it looks like, did black make a little progress here?
You know, that maybe the b pawn can advance. Each advance gets closer to queening.
Christopher down to 6 seconds.
King to d5. Oh. King to d5. I wonder if black could play g5, give up the knight, run with the pawns.
What if black plays king e6 here?
Knight c5 check will put you back.
Yeah.
So could be a draw. He's just going back.
I would have no idea what to do.
Okay, king d5. Now, is she going for that pawn?
Yeah, can you go king c4?
Yeah, I think you can. I think that g pawn won't win the game. Might be some tactics in the end.
Oh wow, she went knight d4.
Ah, safer. Oh, excellent. Yes, okay, that was safer. Now that b pawn can't go, king to f5 is threatened. And aha. King to f4, knight e6.
Wow, look at that. If you go king, yeah, knight e6 check. That's crazy.
Maybe king to e3, just wait. Good. If knight e6, you have 4.
God, there's so many.
But those pawns are advanced. It's very tricky. Very tricky.
They're like on the right spots too. Wow, this is intense.
Very
guess-
nice.
The trick is how does black get their king to help out?
Well, right now, black wants to play knight to e6. Push that knight away.
So knight e6 is knight b3 automatic.
Probably. And Rui wants, of course, to just get that one pawn. Oh, knight c6.
Oh, that's bad, right? Because you go knight b3,
Ouch.
king e.
Ouch.
Oh, look at that.
Check king d6. And what can she do here? It's it's e7. Knight takes. Now it's two
Look at
pawns
that.
down.
No. Wait a minute. But she's gonna get. Is she gonna get that pawn?
That's the G pawn. So can the king and knight push it through on the other side? Oh no, knight c6. He missed that. Knight c6, knight b3, knight e5 would have guarded both pawns. Christopher missed the win. And knight a4 check, knight a5 check. King c3 maybe, king takes pawn, and the black knight tries to block the white knight. King c3, king takes g4, knight c6. If the knight takes on c6, pawn to b3, and maybe there's no way to stop that
Here it is, right here, right?
knight c6. So Rui is in trouble. Maybe knight to b7, hoping for pawn to b3, knight c5, pawn b2, knight a4 check.
Wow, she took it.
Oh! You got a way back? Knight a7? I don't like that. Oh, Rui.
Knight e7, knight b5,
Yeah, it doesn't work. Oh, Rui.
knight e7, right?
Ah.
Yeah, wow.
What a shame.
That's too bad. It's so difficult to.
Down to seconds, and oh, she took that black knight too quickly. That's poor Rui. It's 2 games she should not have lost.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You know, when we gave her the wild card because we also thought that, you know, I mean, we're Rui fans, number one. You know, she plays the mechanics all the time, and she's going to be one of the top female players someday. She performed exceptionally well in the junior girls last year. I think she finished 3rd. She's a bronze medalist at the World Cadet. You know, her playing competition like this, a tournament like this, you can see. I mean, she's battling out with Christopher Hughes, probably, you know, the strongest player in the field. The game that she had yesterday, it's got to feel hard for her. It has to sting, but the experience she's getting and the way she's playing is only going to serve her well, not just in this tournament, but like all the future matches she plays. And I really hope the experience she gets from this is something she carries with her, because who knows, like experience like this against this kind of competition could be the kind of experience that puts her over the top at a U.S. Women's Championship someday, right, or some other type of event. But I love the fight. I love the she's staying in every game. She clearly deserves to be here playing with this field, and I just hope she keeps it going and just keeps giving them heck.
She's got to feel good that she's battled evenly for only for the whole game, just not the last few minutes.
Yeah. And it's fun to watch her style just kind of sort of shells up in the middle, but then at the right time makes a fight of it, and it's fun to watch. So that is a wrap. So the decisive games in this round, Justin Wang and Christopher Yu, and Andrew Hong and Arthur drew, as did Robert Shliaktenko and Christopher Shen. So the next round will be starting at 1 o'clock. We will be starting our stream between 1:30 and 1:45. We will have Grandmaster Patrick Wolf on with that. But the pairings for round 3, it looks like we have Arthur Guo will have white against Rui. And then Justin Wang will have white against Andrew Hong. And Max Liu... No, actually, wait. Andrew Hong has black against Justin Wang. And then Max Liu is playing Robert Shliaktenko. And Christopher Yu is going to be playing Christopher Shen. So those are the matchups. We look forward to an exciting round 3. This round is in the books. We will be back about 1:30, 1:45 for the next start of the next round, and we look forward to you returning and joining us. And thank you, Martingale, for giving a shout out. We will be back, and thank you, Nick, for calling the round.
All right, bye, folks.
See you later.